Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are excited to have you here for this session on the topic that quickly becoming impossible to ignore. Why your CMO dashboard is lying to you about your AI visibility. I am Rohit and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Let me start with a simple but powerful question. When someone asks AI platforms like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini for a solution in your category, does your brand show up or does it get replaced by your competitor? Because what's changing right now is fundamental. Buyers are no longer searching on Google, they are asking AI. So if your brand isn't being a surface there, you are not even entering into consideration state. Now most brands haven't built a strategy for this yet. There's a still lot of hope that this will evolve or we'll figure it out later. But the reality is this shift is already happening. And the brands that act early will define how they are represented in AI driven decisions. That's exactly what today's session is about. And we are just not going to talk theory. We are going to show you live what your customers are actually asking inside AI, how AI is interpreting and positioning your brand, where you are losing visibility and why. And the most important, how to fix it with a structured approach. To take this, we have Ambika Sharma, founder of NeuroRank and Pulp Strategy. Ambika leads a team of strategists focused on helping brands build a stronger digital presence and transform their sales, marketing, and consumer engagement through right use of technology. She has been at the forefront of driving solutions across the full spectrum, from strategy development and implementation to measurement, all with a clear focus on delivering long term value for brands. With the deep expertise in MarTech and AI-led growth, she has been closely working on helping businesses understand and adopt how to how AI is reshaping visibility and decision making. Today, she will walk us through a live demo of NeuroRank and show how to diagnose, how to fix AI invisibility across platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, and Perplexity. Over to you, Ambika.
Thank you so much, Rohit. Hi, everybody. Good to see you here and good afternoon. This is another one in a series, and we've had very enthusiastic participation. So my first request to everybody is that if you have a question, please do ask. I do want the session to be valuable for you, and that's first and foremost. So with just a little bit, how I'm just gonna share my screen. Give me a second. How I've divided this, particularly the session, is one, a very short presentation on the landscape and what it means, just in case anybody wanted a refresher. And then we'll move straight to the tool where we show you a live demo of two different brands across geographies. And I could answer any questions along the way as well. My screen is visible. Great. So obviously we have a product. It's one of the leading products in the category. We've stress tested it against 150 plus brands. We have a whole bunch of clients, mostly in the enterprise and mid-market space. We're also providing advisory over and above the tool for brands that want their internal agencies, teams to kind of cut short the learning curve in case it is required and exactly know what to do, how to do it, what is the fix that they need to do for their brand, particularly in terms of an execution piece. That's what we are doing right now. But today is about what GEO means. How is it that AI is actually making decisions or marking decisions within the chat window for most brands. So very quickly, um, almost 50% of premium search, total search, has moved to AI models. This includes AI summaries on, and AI summaries by default, 50% of the searches get triggered in AI summaries. So on Google. So that's a very, very large space. But when I say 50%, it's globally. India is the largest AI market, and we are also growing the fastest. To just give you like a little bit of a section, in 2024, when we started working on the product build for NeuroRank, it was about 15%. Today, about 20 odd months later, it's 50%. It's over a billion searches every single day, only on ChatGPT. So the volume is really, really large. Needless to say, people who have access to paid versions and access to desktops and infinite data on mobile phones actually use AI more, and the conversation length is increasing day by day. 79% drop in referral traffic for brands, which means if a brand was number one on Google and was kind of driving all of the traffic from there, now the traffic has dropped at least by 79%. Most of you would have seen that on your dashboards, because the searches move to AI, either AI overviews or within the LLM models. Only 8% click on links, including citation links, when they are shown, either in AI or outside within the Google search engine. 70% of consumers almost blindly trust AI answers. And that kind of makes things easy as well as difficult for brands. So, how does AI actually work? And it would be important to kind of connect the dots as we go along in the presentation. You ask a query, what's the let's say, for example, what's the best sunscreen for me? Okay, now this is one. Now what AI does is first defines best. So best sunscreen for clammy weather, best sunscreen for in terms of SPF, best sunscreen for sensitive skin, blah blah. So it kind of defines the query as to what the consumer could be looking at. Hypothetically, if AI does not understand anything about you and you're not logged in and you're on AI summaries, it will kind of go out, search, bring a lot of answers together, and then synthesize one set of answers. So maybe give you two or three options. Sometimes different brand, sometimes same brand. Now, what has happened at the back end is, if your content is not readable, if AI does not understand that your product comes in that best category and kind of fits the consumer bill, then your product gets eliminated. So this is basically the end of it. Now, if your product is eliminated, that is great. If a consumer specifically asks about your brand and the AI model cannot read it or does not have the answer, then it will lie. That is a hallucination, and that is super dangerous because it might say something which is absolutely incorrect or is misleading, and it ends up giving a very bad um, experience to the consumer. Hypothetically, if the consumer acts on it, even if it doesn't act on it, if the information is not correct, then it's a problem. So that is how a backend of the AI model in terms of answers actually works. Now, currently, four answer engines almost are holding 95, 96% of the market, and everybody else is playing in a very small space. As ChatGPT is fast losing market share to Gemini, and Claude is eating market share from everywhere. And then there is Perplexity, which is particularly important in India because it came, it had the promo with Airtel, and a lot of people kind of opted for paid version of Perplexity, and it got a stickiness through that. Now, Claude is more enterprise, so slightly more premium. If your brand is more premium, you should be looking at Claude, definitely as part of the mix. Otherwise, ChatGPT and Gemini are like almost a must because they are freemium versions, and then there is AI answers. So they're definitely going to be very massy products, which they are at this particular point. Now, NeuroRank actually covers all of these four engines, and to make things simple, it will give you an aggregated read across these four as well. So you can independently check each of the engines and how your brand is performing in each of the engines, and then a combined benchmark view. So we already talked about this, that there are three matrices that you want to look at. So definitely, if there is a question on your category, sunscreen, your brand should appear. Second is whatever is written should be accurate. So that's really, really important. And then the third is that does it actually recommend you? Now, all of you would have used AI and you see doesn't give you 100 links. It doesn't make 200 recommendations or 10 recommendations. Normal standard is that it will give two or three, maximum four recommendations unless you ask for more. So in case you haven't asked, then you're getting three recommendations. And that's the space that everybody is kind of fighting for in that particular product log. What we have seen is that traditional brands, um, the older the legacy, sometimes lesser that they are recommended. Newer brands find a lot of space there. So it's just become the battleground, which is an equalizer for big and small brands alike, particularly in categories of healthcare, skincare, finance, SaaS. This is very, very common that a leading category leader who might own like a majority chunk in terms of singular market share might be placed exactly equal or might not be placed at all in an answer as compared to a newer brand that has just been a lot smarter about its marketing. We did an audit of 750 plus brands across multiple geos and 65 industries. What did we see? 68% of brands were missing in the initial shortlist in their own category, considering that LLM models, like I said, come back with max three recommendations. That's a very large percentage of queries to kind of miss. 52% brands had active hallucinations, some more than others, some categories more than others, but this is an average aggregate across categories and brands, and that is a very high hallucination rate. 88% of Indian brands. Now, AI is biased against Indian brands and Indian geographies, probably because all the training mostly happened with US folks. All of the AI models that we kind of mentioned, three of them, Perplexity is not a model, it's an aggregator, but all three of them are US based, so there is a bias against Indian brands. Also, we are not very diligent when it comes to execution, right? So we have very pretty looking fancy websites which AI cannot read properly. We haven't structured our information completely, we don't update, blah blah. So there are a lot of contributing factors to why AI has seemingly a bias against Indian brands. But we also have cross-lingual errors because a lot of our consumers are talking in different languages. Yes, AI will translate. So somebody wrote something in Hindi. When you ask, it will kind of translate at the back end and understand and then put it. But while it can be part of the answer, it causes more confusion than good because AI doesn't translate accurately, at least not yet. So there is a lot of cross-lingual error where AI is unable to understand the sentiment and therefore it reflects on the kind of answer that is coming. More often than not, that reflection is not flattering. So it's a little off. 90% of, now this is really, really important. Consumer categories, B2B, B2C, both, see bias in negative sentiment and AI summaries. And there is a reason for this. AI gives a very high percentage of credit or credibility to actual neutral consumer responses, right? So Quora, Reddit, forums, if you have any industry forums that are related to your category or industry, then those. Now what happens is you might have 100 consumers who are really happy with your brand. They might not have all posted, but there's this one consumer that was crying on Reddit, and there is a disproportional amount of space that is given to that one crying. And a lot of times brands have not addressed that. Reddit is not part of the marketing portfolio that most brands are kind of focusing on, and it's growing very fast. But Reddit, Quora, um, all of these high value forums which are there, for automobile, maybe XPHP. So all of these are very, very important. And these sentiments kind of overpower everything else on the brand as well. After this, we'll move straight to the tool, and I'll actually show you with an example of one brand, and feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We have categorized every single response, which is a negative, which marketers need to be solving for in the tool under ORHL. So that is if your brand is omitted where it should not have been omitted, if a competitor's squatting on your space, if there is a hallucination, incorrect fabricated facts, or if there is a commercial prompt on which your brand is not showing, no citation, no path back to you, so there is a problem, right? While I move to the tool, does anybody have any questions for me? You can unmute your mic and kind of ask that question or raise your hand, whatever kind of works for you.
There is a question from James. Are are Google AI overviews included under the Gemini umbrella?
Yes, they are. It includes Google AI overviews, and AI overviews are like super important for us as well. So there you go. Okay, I'm hoping that my screen is kind of visible. I will give you a background. This is a B2B brand, and then the second part will um, get like a B2C brand, which is a little popular in a different geography. This is India. This is Mahindra Sustain. It is a B2B organization, newer part of the Navratan group of companies, newer than some of the other Mahindra initiatives. What you see in front of you, I'll just give you a little bit of a layout of the tool. If you see here, you can actually see by model. Here we are on NeuroRank benchmark. All of the attributes and numbers kind of change based on the model. If there is a change at the back end, then it will showcase to you. NeuroRank benchmark is just an average out. Okay, so that, but you can see per model and how answers change. So you have control over your audience and your audience understanding, right? Now, the tool is divided into two. There's a one-time visibility audit, which is called the live forensic audit. And then there is the month-on-month governance platform, which is the full suite of services, which is the model preference engineering. So these are two versions. Ideally, the live forensic audit, it's like very, very premium, affordably priced. It's less than a cup of coffee. The objective is that you can look at it and see where you're at and probably make the case with either your client if you're an agency, or with your board if you're the CMO, or whatever is the path that you need to follow to be able to make the case, and also realize for yourself that whether you should be looking at GEO today or tomorrow. I mean, you'll have to at some point of time, because that change is happening. It's not really a choice, but yeah, you can understand where you're at. So that's the live forensic audit. Then I'm just going to quickly go. This is the main dashboard. It shows all of the four models are working. By default, there are four models in this. There are about 38K signals that have been analyzed for this particular audit. And we have 9 intelligence layers, which are here. It's built on the fundamentals of advertising, so it's really easy to understand. The location is India. And for this particular brand, the hallucination score is 62%, which for a large brand, which is an enterprise brand, is not really great. It's, however, probably easily solvable, but has not been addressed at this point in time. Now, if you go lower, you'll see the aggregate by default NeuroRank benchmark score of inclusion, which is 49%. And by model, again, this is an average. So by model, you can see GPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity. What is the inclusion score? The tool also analyzes the sentiment by which the answer has been given, or a follow-up answer has been given. Multiple prompts and runs would have happened. There is no logged in bias, so that is an advantage. It really means that it cannot be replicated physically, because it's literally thousands of prompts mimicking your consumer across the geography. So Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Guwahati, Chennai, across the geography, and then an aggregation of what the answers are and where your competition is versus that particular brand. Now, if I go down, this is a common dashboard which gives you one single view. We will deep dive as well. You'll see that Renew Power, Tata Renewable Energy, Adani Green are all a little ahead of the brand in terms of score of inclusion. And then Mahindra Sustain is at 77 here, which is a combination of whether the models are recommending Mahindra Sustain and these competitors as innovative brands. So you'll see 6 dimensions. These are the dimensions that consumers kind of use in terms of neural marketing, use to be able to identify whether they like a brand and prefer a brand or they don't prefer a brand, right? So they just marked those, and appropriate questions have been asked by NeuroRank with LLM models to kind of get these answers. So there is innovation, there is obviously recall value when it's unaided. This is all unaided, so unaided recall value. How much is the trust that the LLMs have shown? And we don't interfere in this. We haven't defined the competition. It is the competition as defined by the LLM models, right? So it's just like a first unaided recall prompt in terms of the category, and then it kind of picks up from there, mimicking consumer behavior. Is it known as a digital first brand? How is the thought leadership and the leadership voice? And finally, what is the prompt inclusion which is there for all of these competitors, and where does Sustain as an aggregate kind of stand on those parameters? So this is great. It gives an idea of where we are at and which are the basic competitors ahead and behind. Where do we kind of feature and how much work needs to be done or not done there. Now we'll come to the brand battle card. We'll go to the details here because it has a lot of detail in terms of what is missing, which are the brands ahead, what are the critical issues, what should you actually look at. And typically this report can easily give a sensible, focus team like 3-4 months of work on what to be able to fix, at least get you a really good overview there. What is the overall sentiment? So there is a sentiment analysis. We've all been used to it very over the years because we are analyzing Twitter sentiment, and we use Meltwater and other tools to be able to see what the posted voice sentiment is for users. Same tech in AI answers, and that's giving you an overall sentiment score. Sentiment is low, but it's not negative. Okay, so this is a perception that AI models are demonstrating against this particular or for this particular brand. It's picked up on the perceived strengths based on what the AI models say and the perceived vulnerabilities as well. The benchmarking is always against a global market, and within India as well. So there would be some tags for the company. If the company says that they're looking to go global, then if it's mentioned on the website, then NeuroRank will kind of take a slightly larger view based on the company's route that the company wanted to be able to take. Then this is really interesting. It does a content audit and it gives a technical visibility audit, which is for your website and your owned um, destinations like YouTube and LinkedIn, etc. When you do log in, you'll have to provide the YouTube URL. Rest, it will be able to detect everything because normally names of the handles on LinkedIn are correct, and therefore the tool is able to kind of use the API and associate the right content with the right brand. Now, if it also gives fixed priority, and this is your main modular dashboard. Now I would go into market perception. So in terms of perception, we saw that the overall sentiment was a little bit low. We're on the benchmark index here. This is engine level distribution in terms of sentiment. So you can actually see where you're doing better and where you're not doing so well. Now here is where it gets a little interesting. Since Mahindra Sustain is hoping to go global, this would be important for them as well. um, dependence on current policy framework because they're wanting to sell electricity that they generate, lack of consumer visibility, and independent third party validations or reviews. So this is an area to be able to work on. But if you really look at India, it's identified all of the positives and then also the negatives, which might not be negative, it might be an observation. Perception is influenced by broader industry challenges in India. This would be the same for all of the brands in the category. It's not particularly special that the pricing pressures are competitive, but limited brand recognition and independent market perception. That is an area to be able to work on. Potential impact from intense price competition in the Indian solar market. So, what I would do if I would see this as a brand is I would try and balance this narrative out and mention to my consumers what are we doing to be able to reduce the impact from the intense price competition, and in that direction what are our future plans. So how am I going to protect my organization against competition, and what are the core initiatives that I'm kind of taking, and this will balance out, right? It does give a synopsis as well, and it gives some of the cited links. Now, remember, this is the tip of the iceberg audit. It doesn't give all of the information. It gives you more than enough information to kind of make a decision on where you are in your journey, and when do you want to start, and what are the areas that you would possibly want to be able to consider. So we'll go to competitive analysis. Is really interesting. It's a competitive benchmark scoring across. You saw this in a little bit of overview in the initial dashboard. Now, if you see, Mahindra Sustain is known as high in innovation, which is great, but the recall is medium. If somebody is really asking for a category or recommendations or investment options or even employer branding, then the recall is medium. The trust, because it's a Mahindra Legacy Group company, is high, but the brand itself is medium in terms of a digital first approach, which means maybe they're doing everything right, and maybe that information is not available for LLMs to consume. So that's somewhere to deep dive on. Considering that Mahindra already has a very strong leadership voice, but the leadership voice for this brand is coming as medium. This would be a concern area because one, it shouldn't be like that. There should be like a cross pollination across group companies for sure, which is a best practice, but it's not visible, right? And that is, it's a solvable problem, and it's not currently addressed. But overall, prompt inclusion still remains high. Now there is a get insights. The tool allows you to talk to the data and get additional insights. So you can click on get additional insights, and then the insights will come at the bottom panel here for everybody to see. Now, if I'm going to move towards search intelligence, this is mostly what everybody waits for. What are my consumers asking? So we have 21 queries here. Potentially, there could be hundreds of queries. This is not the audit for everything under the sun. So this is a tip of the iceberg, and it gives you an idea, which is why there are 21 queries which are analyzed as well as listed here across consumer types. And if you see, there is zero healthy queries, there is one which has a warning, and there are four which are critical, and rest possibly are neutral. So energy partnership opportunities, this is potentially an investor query. This has a warning 20 to 60% ORHL, which is either omitted or replaced, or hallucination levels are very, very high. A lead is definitely missed in terms of it's a commercial prompt, high value, and 20 to 60% is not a great figure there. Utility scale solar EPC selection. So that's one of the query clusters. There are 4 or 5 variations of the query that has run, and I'll come to the results as well. Solar O&M service provider evaluation. So in terms of evaluation or a consideration set, how is this actually working? And what is it that consumers are getting? This is critical. So maybe that funnel is not completed here. And who are the leading providers of solar O&M services for solar farms in India? So it's a very high value query, but it's at a critical stage. So the screen actually tells you the queries. It also gives you like a few flags that might be there. Now, if you see the flags here, you will see misconception that Mahindra Sustain only focuses on solar projects without engaging in wind energy. So apparently, the LLM model would have come back in an answer and not answered on wind on a follow-up question, which is incorrect. So that information has not reached the LLM model and definitely is opportunity lost. Confusion about specific services which are offered compared to larger multinational players. So these are really large projects. The competition is cross boundaries, even if the region might be, the installation of the project might be in India, but the competition is truly across boundaries there, considering the shift in the energy policy that India has. Inaccurate comparisons of Mahindra Sustain's pricing models against competitors without context on services. So they are providing like a product pricing, but their LLM models are kind of missing out on all the services or the additional services that Mahindra Sustain does provide. And that's part of their revenue cycle. Limited visibility on O&M capabilities. So there, the tool has given a little bit of a highlight. However, when we go to the live prompt indexing, it would run all those 21 prompts and it would give you a clear idea of where we are at. Okay. Top companies to partner with for renewable energy. So the inclusion is minimum, medium level, which is about 50%. 20 to 60% is missing in terms of the answers. ORHL value is about 20 to 60%, depending on the prompt. And it also gives like a note. Mahindra Sustain is recognized, but not amongst the top mentions compared to leaders like Tata Power and Adani Green. You could also click on each of these actions to get additional insights. And you're seeing by prompt. Mostly the prompts which are branded, like compare Mahindra Sustain versus, they have a very good clearance level, and that is persistent across brands, which is normal. But others are low or poor. So this gives a good idea of where the brand is at in terms of queries. Again, fresh token methodology, no logged in bias, well distributed across the country. So you can choose a region. You can go by India, or you can say APAC, or you can say US, or you can choose just the country. So all of that is an option for sure when you're actually running the audit, and gives you a good idea of your geography and the geography that you're responsible for that particular brand. Now we'll come to the battle card, separate parameters. We are looking at aided recall here. So what about Mahindra Sustain's core product? Aided recall always goes by brand. So everything looks great here in terms of product across competition. Market presence confusing. This could be for a variety of reasons. Project details are not listed. Who should invest, or what are the opportunities may not be listed. They might not be readable if they are listed. So that emotional brand recall. Now this is a problem. Now this is a brand which does amazing amount of CSR activities. They are really active on ground, and they've done a ton of good work around CSR, work that's really worthy of being proud of, but LLM models have not picked it up. So obviously that connection between digital and what's really happening has not happened. But that doesn't help the consumer, because we cannot go into a village and see what Mahindra Sustain is doing for school kids there. It has to be visible somewhere. And if I'm asking AI and AI is unable to give me the answer, or it gives me like a lame answer, which is about 50% here, which is what it seems like. CO and leadership content, we had talked about. Prompt inclusion frequency is okay, but this is aided recall. The LLM digital engagement in terms of proactive questions is missing. So whenever we talk to AI proactively comes back and, should I tell you this? Should I talk to you about this? Do you want to know about this? So the tool actually captures all the follow-up queries. And through that, it has accumulated, analyzed that the follow-up engagement is poor. Now, as compared to the seeming market leaders, this is not a good place to be in against your competition, which is fairly about the same size. So that gives a idea about, what are the areas to be able to work on. Now, this is a standard audit for content visibility. Where are you visible and where are you not visible? So technical optimization is schema meta, not ideally optimized. LLM models need that to actually read a page. They don't read like you and me, just text. They need to have the technical data inside of the HTML to actually read something. Fixed priorities high. YouTube content showcasing projects is absent. It has not detected anything. Social media engagement is poor, but LLM models don't really read Meta and Insta in terms of influential platforms. So, which is okay. This is a good to have information. Customer testimonials and case studies are very few. Needs to be solved. Blog content on trends and that leadership voice is missing. It's under the ORHL category. Local SEO is missing, so multiple offices, Google My Business, all of that is not available. Partnerships and collaborations have not been showcased properly, or LLMs cannot read it. Webinars, live events, any engagement, any industry leadership practices are absent. So it kind of gives here, remember, 38,000 destinations it checked. The tool has a lot of insight, which has been built in terms of the standard advertising consumer perspective, like we used to do marketing research, and also from organizational repetition management policy perspective across um, what are consumers saying and what should be there ideally and what is missing. So it gives you a very good view. There is technical visibility as well. What happens in terms of tech and content, what is missing, original research reports, competitive intelligence, all of that is not available. So there's like more insights, and you could talk to your data, get insights, and kind of go there. So this is the tip of the iceberg audit. Are there any questions that I could answer?
We have a couple of questions.
Great.
Do you have any example of US geo, especially in life sciences consulting space? That is from Akshat. Then how much does it cost? I think that we will clear out in the end.
Sure.
Then one of the question is, when was NeuroRank founded and how many employees do you have? What is the source for these questions? Like we were showcasing the demo, and
Right.
Alpika is asking the question, what is the source of this question's answer? Is it a Quora?
No, no, it's not Quora. So I'll go like one by one.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of open the chat box because my memory is not really as great as it used to be. Yes, session recording will be available. So I'll start with the team. Um, NeuroRank was built by Pulp Strategy. So it's not like a separate brand or company at this point. It is a brand that is owned by us. The trademark is registered and the patent is filed, accepted, and under progress, whatever that process is. Pulp Strategy at NeuroRank, for NeuroRank, we're a team of about 50 people, including tech, UI, UX, MarTech, all of that. We launched NeuroRank as a closed beta by invite only in July of last year. We wanted to be able to ensure that it's of value for CMOs. In that duration between last year July and this year in February and end February, early March, we worked with about 150 brands across multiple locations, um, mostly around US and India. To be really honest, 80-90% are these two geographies with the biggest AI market, so no surprises over there. And we fine tuned the model based on the team feedback from each of those brands. What else would you like to know? Where is the information going to come from? What should be the insight? What should be the calculation? What should be the UI, XYZ? So we worked with all of these brands and fine-tuned the model, and now it is available as a SaaS model for the public. So that is what the background there is. Google AI overviews are included. They're very, very important, and it actually has a separate section where in recommendations, which I will show you now, AI overviews are in how they can be influenced is also mentioned, right? Now, US Geo in life sciences and consulting space, I will try and pull out data from those 150 audits. But for India, yes, we have Biocon Biologics, which is there, and a couple of others as well. And US, I'll really have to kind of check which are the organizations. And if there is a life sciences audit, which I have, I will definitely share it with you. If you could drop your information to us in chat, then we'll kind of pull out that information and share the audit with you. It's public facing information, so it's not a problem over there. But yes, US brands are there and quite a few of these. Okay. Now, what is the source of these questions and answers is a very good question. This is actually traditional advertising research. So we start with the category. So let us say you put in your brand, which is Mahindra Sustain, or let's say Royal Enfield. The category is motorcycles. It will go and ask a category question. So the tool starts with asking a category question. We have a swarm of agents. They go out, we have enterprise APIs from all of the four models. They ask a category question in terms of motorcycles for that particular geography. When answers come, they ask the follow-up questions. Now, for each of the categories, what are the questions to be asked directionally is already present in the tool. But what NeuroRank does is when you have those follow-up questions that LLM models ask you. So if I ask that, I want to buy a motorcycle, can you recommend me which motorcycle to buy? So it'll ask you questions. Are you looking for this? Are you looking for this? Can I tell you more about X? So it captures all of those queries. Now, if you've read the blogs for GPT and OpenAI, Anthropic, you would know that these follow-up questions are the equivalent of what we used to have in Google or still have. Customers also asked. Those are the most popular question sets. So there are two sources to the prompts that you see in the NeuroRank tool. One is what LLMs actually prompt while we are probing. And the second is unaided recall, that methodology that you ask to check about any consumer. And then it moves to aided recall. So it checks on your products and services from the site, starts asking aided recall questions without the brand name, captures all the follow-up questions, and therefore you get all of the prompts and queries that people are actually asking LLM models, right? From what LLM models prompt us back. So which is why we need a lot of high volume to be able to get accurate prompts. What the tool does not do, and a lot of other AI visibility dashboards might do, is use a backend AI chat GPT or something to imagine the most likely prompts. So I think that's a very important differentiator, that it is not imagining anything. You also have to look at the prompt volume that we are running. For every single prompt cluster, we minimum run 6,000 query volume, which means that you get a really high aggregation and accurate response. Okay, so that's that question. All AI platforms. So you have Gemini, you have Claude, you have Perplexity, and of course, you have OpenAI. Gemini also includes Google AI overviews, right? So those are the four models only. We will have other models at a different time, maybe as we go along. But currently, we already address 98% of the market for the geographies that we want to go to. Next, we might include Ministral for Europe when we have language options. But at this time, we only address these four models. Bias against India or bias towards India. Okay, so AI models are biased against Indian brands. It may be by design, or it may be due to the fact that we are not very well structured, right? We are not execution specialists when it comes to doing things the right way, technically speaking, particularly when, for example, our websites, we don't do technical SEO. Our blogs are like all over the place. We don't take down pages which are 5 years old. We don't put freshness stamps on what we post. So AI model doesn't know, is this May 26, is this June 2025, is this 2014? It's all up to imagination, right? So these biases also come out of that. But yes, consistently we realized across those 750 brands that we audited, and it has a good mix of India and US, that when you ask a generic question, if there is a US brand that exists in the category, AI will always recommend that brand first. And recommending an Indian brand is only when there isn't a US brand to be recommended. Now, there could be multiple reasons. I'm not saying that these companies built the model like that, but that's what the responses reflect most of the times. So the bias is against Indian brands, overall. So okay, so those were the questions. Now let me go to model preference engineering. Okay, this is the really important part of the governance that you need. What does it do? It identifies each prompt cluster, so it tells you all of the prompts. If you see there are 1089 queries, this brand is Royal Enfield, the geography is UK, because I wanted to get an idea of outside geographies as well. We already saw one which was for India. It has 100 clusters, 4 LLM engines. The geography is UK. Okay. Now it has clustered the prompts basis the topic. Now this is only for ease of use of the marketing team. So you have one hero prompt and then all related queries, 8 or 9, are together. Why are they together? One, so that you don't have to do it manually because it's the pain. The second is, if you address this whole cluster properly, then these 10 prompts can get fixed in 1 month, which is a very big advantage. So that is one, what the tool does. It tells you where you are by query, each of this prompt cluster, and we'll show. So if you run analysis, you'll actually get an analysis. So will each prompt cluster will be run across the geography, again, thousands of times, and you'll get the analysis. Takes the time, so I've pre-run this. It takes 15-20 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, to be able to get the entire analysis in place. And the reason is that the accuracy, right? Because it has to bring all the data into one place, and then we analyze it using traditional analysis methods in automation, and then you get to see the query, what you see on your dashboard. So that's the search intelligence. You can actually get the results per cluster. So I have run one cluster here, 11 prompts, 4 engines, um, non-branded prompt. So it kind of shows each of the pieces for each of the sub prompts as well. Where are you? So if you see Royal Enfield branded prompts, it's doing really well. But for an unbranded prompt in terms of vintage motorcycles, it might not do very well. What it also gives you is it gives you an aggregation, right? So one particular prompt, it has run 5 times per model, and there are 11, 12 prompts in that cluster. So you can do the math, and then next it'll run the cluster again. So there. Now it's just given you an aggregate of all of those 5, 10 answers so that you can see how is it that AI is answering. Where is the source of that citation? If you see, it's picking up something from YouTube. If you click, it'll actually open the citation link. If it's a competitor cited link, then it's an advantage. Now, what these cited links tell me is that there's Rider Magazine, there is store.motorcycleclassics.com, there's rarest.org, there's Slash Gear, there is SMC Insurance, and YouTube. So YouTube is in the brand's control, but you could do like a collaboration or a PR activity with these platforms if you really wanted to be in a hurry to fix this problem, right? Because these are cited as trusted sources for this particular query for motorcycles in the UK. So this is something you would not be able to get manually, and this is per prompt, right? Now, once I have this, so this is one cluster. There are about 11 prompts, a lot of information for my team. I can kind of let them analyze it, or I can just kind of go straight to the recommendation engine. So we have done the diagnosis. Now we are coming to prescription. If this diagnosis is something that you want to work on, you run the prompt and then it gives you fixes for all of those 11 prompts. So now how this helps is because the tool has typically gone through thousands of links and queries, it also has the entire GEO intelligence playbook built into it. Okay, so what should you do for GEO? What is the format? What are the things which are important? How should it be written? All of that intelligence is hard coded. We took like a year and we constantly update it, right? This is stuff that your teams do not have and cannot do manually at all. So it has given 90 recommended fixes across 13 platforms. It has identified the platforms where Royal Enfield has not made its presence felt. And those are important platforms. It also benchmarks these by must have, good to have, and you make your choices. You don't want to fix 96 fixes. You just fix the must have, and 100% your inclusion will grow to like 80, 90% in 4 or 5 months. So that's like a really important thing to do. It kind of brings governance right into your team. So it's picked up on the brand website. You have two columns. One column will go through and then we'll go through the next column. The coverage is great, but there's no long format comparison article. There is no, build Triumph alternative. So Triumph is ruling this roost in terms of the vintage motorcycles. So you give honest multi-brand comparisons on the website. There are no case study pages. There are no FAQ pages and schema. So fix that. Now, tool doesn't fix it. But if you say that, yes, I have fixed it, the tool will go and check and tell you whether the fix is efficient or not. Which means that if you've allocated a junior team member or your agency, you're the agency owner and you've allocated a team member to fix it, you can be confidently sure that whether it has been done properly or not. So which is why it's a governance tool and not just like a AI visibility tool, right? So it'll come and tell you that what is it that went wrong, and then you can make those corrections. So it kind of guarantees, if you're honest to the work that you want to do for Geo, kind of guarantees that you'll succeed at it. Again, for LinkedIn, for that particular prompt, it has given you what is missing. I'll come back. What should you have on YouTube? What should you have on Reddit? Okay. Now, these are, of course, common platforms. There's no AMA event. There's no motoring response workflow. There's no community engagement. There's no original content from the brand. Subreddits are missing and all of that. It has Quora as well, which is poor. This Medium and Substack is important for the UK. They read these newsletters, so it's kind of put it in must have, and it's definitely important to do. Kind of overviews where the gaps are. Now, important, it recommends where platform analysis is completely failing, right? Not that the tool has failed, but everything is weak and low. It's mentioned G2 and Capterra. It has highlighted that on Trustpilot, you have a trust score of 1.5 out of 5 based on 65 reviews. Reviews are predominantly negative, with 74% rating and one company star. So it has identified what is pulling you down. Now you need to go and fix it. Okay. So there are, like I said, I won't go through all 96, but it basically covers everything, including technical content. It has a specific section for the person who asked for Google AI overviews. What can you actually do separately? The platform analysis is quite poor. Landing pages are not correctly made. So the format of the landing page and the structure is unreadable. H1, H2 is missing, vintage motorcycle keywords are not there. So it's kind of given you everything over here. Once you have done the fix, it checks the fix and lets you know what is working and what needs additional effort. And then it kind of tells you where you're at, right? Month on month, what is the mix? And how is that actually running for you? And if I view, so latest health cycle, how many are average? If I view the matrix, this is April, which prompt, how much I have gained for which model, and then month on month it will keep giving you an aggregate, right? So all you need to do is kind of screenshot this, and you can put it as part of your presentation, or you can download the report, and it gives a really nice presentation format download. And download the report and just go ahead and present it. It is very accurate. We've seen accuracies higher than 99%. The reason being is we are not fabricating anything. We are analyzing high volume prompts, and it's basically big data analysis, and the data is available for you to review. So it's fairly transparent like that. And then it gives you the entire visibility dashboard as what is your inclusion, what was the accuracy per model, what is the sentiment, and what is the level of hallucination. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? How are you tracking now against your competition broadly? And it keeps giving you month on month growth there. So that's what the tool really does. Now, if I really look at the pricing, what you need to do is you go to neurorank.ai, you go to pricing. We obviously, agency model is coming really soon. We are working with some of the agencies to kind of build the dash for multi-brand, important for them. The live forensic audit, which is the initial one which I showed, is just $7. You can just go ahead and buy that. The pricing for model preference engineering for a single brand is very modular. So what you need to do is, I would recommend you buy annually because it does not retain the data if you just buy for 1 month and come back 4 months later. Okay. You select your models. If I look at one model, one prompt, so it's just 195, 191 actually. Prices in USD because my expenses in USD, but you will be able to pay in your local currency. India, most of us are from India here. So you can pay in India. You can choose which models you go for. And you can also choose how many prompt clusters that you want to go for. My recommendation is you start with all 4 models and one prompt cluster only, because execution you still have to do. The tool doesn't do that for you. So you get like a good execution cadence and see how much you can handle. The good part is if you address one prompt a month, the tool will actually condition the prompt, which is called a RAG injection. Very important to know. When we were doing SEO, we are still doing SEO, it's still important. But when we were doing SEO, remember the pages which had higher traffic would rank higher. Now, models don't automatically remember your information. They only remember if the information is important. How do they decide if the information is important? If a lot of people are asking for that information. Most models have different refresh rates. So Gemini is almost instant, a couple of hours. Claude is 9 to 12 months. It takes 9 to 12 months for the memory to refresh. And then also it will remember only if it thinks it's important. Just randomly, it will not remember everything. So what the tool really does is that after you have made the fix, it runs a conditioning loop per prompt cluster. Okay. It literally goes across the country in an agent swarm, and it asks the same set of queries again and again. That does 2 things for you. One, it improves the number of queries suddenly. So it shortens the time for the information, new information, which you posted and updated to kind of stay in the model memory. And second, it kind of knows how well the information that you have put up is actually working. So it does both those things, give you really large data analysis across all the questions after you have made the fix, which is how you see whether the growth is happening or not. And it does influence the RAG layer for the LLM models as well. So there are 2 advantages. we've seen that instead of 6 to 12 months, which is what ChatGPT to Claude actually do, Perplexity is not an engine, and Gemini is almost instant, including AI overviews. It shortens it by 30 to 40% in most cases. If it's a niche prompt, new product, new category, not too many queries, that may be easier, faster there. So that is what it does. So I recommend you go for one cluster across models. It's not a high cost. It's fairly doable here. Biannually, it's cheaper, or you can just put your card and kind of pay monthly. All options in terms of UPI and everything are available, and that is what it looks like. What it really does for you is it gives you absolute surety that your best prompts are going to show up in terms of the answers, and that you're able to have a control over what uh, the AI models, all four, are actually saying. And of course, if you see, we've kind of mentioned all the numbers there in terms of what kind of guarantee that it might have. And of course, it checks for all AEO, GEO, AIO fixes. And that's where we're at. If you have any other questions that I could answer around GEO, around what you should do, uh, all of that. Great. So right after this, I will share a promo code with you to be able to use on the initial audit, which is the forensic visibility. And that code will be valid for like a couple of days. If you are looking to check for your own or your clients' brands, please go ahead. You can do that audit. If you'd like me to help you decode that audit for you, please do reach out to me, and I'll be happy to kind of set up a call and walk you through your audit and what it means, so that if there are any questions that could be solved, and we will be sharing the recording. You'll have to give us a day, but we will share the recording of this as well, and happy to be able to answer any questions that you might have. Great. So we're 5 minutes over time, but thank you so much for being present here. And if you have any category questions that I can assist with, please reach out to me. And I hope you all have a great day. Can we have access to product, content, website, and quality? Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, access at this point, I mean, if you go ahead and purchase, yes, you will be able to kind of put in all of the reviews that you have or all of the content that you have created. It depends actually. Amazon is a closed platform. You need to be able to log into it. But typically anything that is available publicly, it will capture. But it, apart from reviews, it does not influence your GEO, and therefore Flipkart or Amazon, you cannot put a link and ask the tool to go and check the quality of your content. It doesn't do that because quality of content is not relevant to GEO. I'm not sure that I understand what is the company name, but we will be able to share the webinar recording for you. Great. Thank you so very much, everybody. And company image build up. Yes. So AI governance is more important for company image build up. Website is one part of it, right? But otherwise, it covers all of your platforms. It's not just image build up, right? Let's say if I was evaluating a payment platform, okay, and I've only heard of Razorpay, and this actually happened to me. And we are using Dodo Payments, and they don't pay me to recommend them, but we are using Dodo Payments, and we tried Razorpay, and then we couldn't find one which would, kind of give me one payment gateway efficiently across all the multiple countries. So we checked with AI, and AI recommended DodoPay. And then we started asking questions there and sounded really good. Did not like the other recommendation that AI made, and Razorpay we already had. And then we went ahead with Dodo Payment. Now let us say that there is this really awesome payment gateway that we should have taken. Where am I going to search for it? It's not available anywhere. I'm certainly not, I've lost the habit of going through 20 links of Google, right? So I would definitely say that Dodo Payments did a good job of making all of their information really accessible. And certainly. So yes, governance, your actual revenue, which is very important, and of course for ORM as well, image of company automatically comes alongside it. But unless you're a really big brand, you might not just do GEO for image of company, right? It has to have multiple reasons based on how your consumers are using AI. Right, Abhik. So we've got your email and we'll kind of reach out to everybody with the link. Great. So again, repeating, my organization's name is Pulp Strategy. The product is called NeuroRank. And if you really liked what you saw, please give us a shout out on LinkedIn. Let us know what you thought about the webinar, and we'll be sure to kind of reach out to you and happy to answer any questions. Following that, I hope you all have a really great day. And please go ahead. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. And I wish you the very best for your GEO. And we are capturing all the email IDs. So if you're looking at the recording or you're looking at any information, please drop in your email and we'll make sure that we send out information and include these email IDs as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We'll be closing the call now. See you in the next, and hopefully, you'll love your audit. Bye bye. Have a nice day.